All right, so these are attributes of the aura. The aura is a subtle atmosphere around the body, and it has various mental levels and various energy levels. Every level of the aura can be tied to a various function of the mental bodies, the subtle bodies, and all the aspects of the physical body. You know, such as the subatomic level, the atomic level, the molecule level, the cellular level, the bone marrow level, and the blood level, the tissue level, the organ level, and the systems of organs level, and the human body level. So the auric body creates particular pressures, and it calibrates the energies for each one of those levels. In fact, if you go to the ancient science of what is called, what's the health science called? How can I forget it? What? Yeah, Ayurveda, right? This is what they tie their health science into. And they call it, for, instead of using Sanskrit terminology, they call it body tissues, okay? And each energy or technique or you know, thing that they're trying to target is at the cellular level, the atomic level, the cellular level, the bone marrow level, or the tissue level, or the organs, or how the organs function. And they concentrate on that flow of energy, whether that energy is a subtle energy or a solid or liquid energy. And they concentrate their treatments around that and making sure that the energy flows back and forth naturally, you know. So their whole science is based around that type of yogic teachings. So now within each one of these levels, there's a auric configuration. Therefore, there's a auric flow or glow or radiant of energy there is too. And there's a energy intake. You have the energy intake, and then you have the energy output, okay, of each level. So that you kind of understand what it acts as a personal atmosphere to every human body. It sustains the mind. They close the elevator, that elevator fell to the bottom. The cords popped some type of way, and they fell everyone in the elevator died. They fell to their death. So when the aura is no longer there, or have dissipated or moved on, then that body cannot sustain itself anymore. So that's, you know, that's given evident again, and I'm sure he didn't have no great knowledge on the aura, and probably not at that time. But he noticed that. And he noticed that was one of the natures of it, of how the aura or the soul works, you know.
So the aura is the atmosphere of the soul.
Well, I wouldn't say the atmosphere of the soul. It is the body. The auric body is the atmosphere. The auric body is the body of the soul. Now, the auric body has a radiant glow to it, and that's what most people see. They don't realize that is the body of the soul. And the body of the soul, just like we talk about the constitution of man, right? You have the spirit, Then you have the spirit develops a body for itself, which is the soul. The soul develops a body for itself, which is the auric body. And then from there, it builds on all the other bodies in order to move through evolution from one reincarnation to the next. See, so with every time the aura takes on a different formation within it, it releases a different color. In other words, if you look at the electronic magnetic spectrum, right, which is nothing but a rainbow when you look at it, right? When you look at it, if you pierce into that electronic spectrum at one level, which is an orange type level, then that thing will come out looking orange. You understand? The orange tree grows up and it taps into that watery type energy, that liquid type energy. So what happens? What happens is that the hull of the orange is orange. The orange, the inside is orange. Now, the grapefruit comes out red, a ruby red color, right? It depends on where you're tapping into the electronic magnetic spectrum, because all of us live within that spectrum of light. The light radiates from the sun, and we tap in at different conscious levels. Each ray is a different conscious level. So within so when the soul creates, because of what the soul does, the soul pulls down these energies from the sun, and it calibrates. It pulls the energies from the earth too, and calibrates those energies. And it pulls the energies from the moon and calibrate those energies, and it builds this auric field. And within that auric field, it now can develop different bodies of substance, right? And that's how you have your mental body. That's how you have your etheric body. That's how you have your prana bodies, your astral body, and your physical body. Okay, that's how you have all these different bodies. They develop in this aura. It's the mental body. Then that mental body has a radiant layer to it. It has a layer that intakes energy, and it has a layer that pushes out energy.
Hence, when the aura dissipates, you can no longer live in your body because your soul is not there anymore.
Yeah,
Exactly.
because the soul, the auric body bends, and it really develops all the bodies.
Yeah.
And it's the thing that's holding matter together. Remember what we said? We said mind does what?
Mold and shape.
It molds and shapes matter. So the auric field is developed, and within the auric field develops the consciousness or the mind. Because why? It pulls on part of the universal mind and builds a mini mind for itself, right? And in order to bring about consciousness on various levels. So that's what it does. So let's go back to this. It is the vehicle that it is the vehicle that is connected to all the realms of existence. That's what the soul does. That's what that aura does, or the auric body. It connects to all the realms of existence. The realms of existence meaning the chakras. Okay. The human aura pulls on the subtle cosmic energies through the use of the chakra system, which act as a series of vortex centers that pull mental and vital energies into the auric structure. I just described that to you. That's what it does. You know, it's this atmosphere of substance, of intelligent substance, that builds all the bodies and allow you to experience life on various levels of consciousness. The human aura modifies the mental and vital energies received through the chakra systems, and then it pushes the out energies that have been impregnated by the thoughts and actions of the person as modified manas. Okay? We have this, and I just described that. It pulls on this universal mind called chitta in Sanskrit terminology, and it brings it into itself, and it calibrates it, impregnates it, and then when it goes back out, it goes out as manas. Because manas is that universal energy that's been affected by the touch and thought and actions of man. Okay? Which helps to mold the environment. Once that energy goes out, it starts a karmic reaction, right? Which begins to mold your environment, right? It molds the environment into the karmic experience needed for your evolutionary journey. In other words, your thoughts and actions, it begins to mold and shape how people perceive you in life. And everything, even the floor, the ground, the air, the furniture, everything begins to mold itself to your karmic balance or structure in order to give you the necessary experience. You know, and you can see this in machinery. If certain people can take a piece of machinery and they can use that machinery like no one else can. Like that the machine, the car, the bike, or whatever it is, it responds to them in a certain way. People say, oh, that's their expert skills. And a lot of times it's because of the karmic pattern of that particular person. In other words, in simple terms, it's the exchange of love that person has with that thing. You know, and then you go to it and you try to work with it and nothing happens. You know, you try to develop the technique and nothing happens because the missing point is the connection. It's the karmic connection that person has with that machinery. So it's the output of energy, of karmic energy that person pushes out and create that environment that allows that thing to work in perfect unison there. So that's one way. Another thing, the auric body uses the intake of mind energy and vital energy to exert karmic pressures throughout the auric structure in order to bring about correct karmic balance. In other words, the auric body acting on the directives of the soul creates the karmic limitations that you have to have in order to move through evolution. That's its job. The auric body is actually the auric body is actually a devic lavatory, in other words, because the auric, the higher principles of the auric body follows the law of karma strictly, and it won't go outside the law of karma. Every law that karma enacts on mankind in this level of consciousness, the auric body will not stray from that law. So it creates the perfect storm or pressure in order to keep you in check. So the Kundalini as a vehicle of consciousness is a karmic pressure. Okay? Because what is Kundalini? Kundalini takes the Shakti consciousness of the soul and the auric body and compresses it and bring that Shakti consciousness into a state of dormancy and only releases a small percentage of that, be it 2%, 5%, 8%, and then it allows that to go out and becomes the vehicle of consciousness for man, to allow man to experience consciousness in a very limited way until he molds and shapes those particular energies in a way to allow him to gain real freedom. And that's by, in that basic consciousness, becoming totally aware of the law of karma and strictly adhering to the law of karma. Then he can move forward and tap into the greater power, the greater 90% of Kundalini. Until then, he cannot. The Nadi system with 242,000 pathways is a karmic pressure erected by the auric body. And what it does, it takes this small percentage of Kundalini energy that's been left to build the vehicle of consciousness, and it allows that energy to flow through those 242,000 pathways. That's what it does. That's, but still in a limited fashion, in a very, very limited fashion. Because as it moves through there, it builds what? Anybody remember? Yeah. It builds what? Huh? Consciousness, the mental bodies, the different mental bodies, the subconscious mind, the conscious mind, and the superconscious mind. It builds those. It first builds the superconscious mind, then the subconscious mind, and then the conscious mind. And the conscious mind is with very limited power. Then also the chakra system with 108 chakras, right, act as a conscious splitting device for the soul and the auric body. And it is a karmic pressure on man, because now you have this Shakti consciousness with all awareness comes down and forms this thing called the Kundalini. And this Kundalini is really the 3.5 knot at the base of the spine. And the 3.5 knot represents the man being cut off from the higher consciousness. That's what it represents. It curls up it locks off the door to Sushumna, and it takes away man's ability to reach the higher states of consciousness. And it locks up over 90% of the power of man. And it leaves this very small percentage so that man can function, right? And then after it does that, it pushes the energy through the nadis, right? This conscious state of energy. But when it pushes the energies, it separates it, number one, in two different flows of energy, which is a negative and a positive. And consciousness is only experienced when it goes through the 108 chakras, right? And it cross-section itself. When the negative energy and the positive energy crosses, then what happens? You have a spark of consciousness that you can operate through. But it does this 108 times. Now, as these nadis come up, they go through the chakras and they create what is, at least in the major chakras that we know of, it creates the nadi knots. And the nadi knots are what? Are the petals within the chakras, right? They are the petals. This stream of energy knots, it threads itself through the chakras, and when it goes through there, it creates these nadi knots, which are the BJs or the chakra petals, and that is it creates a sound vibration. It really repeats a sound vibration that's already there, but it perpetuates that sound vibration in order to what? In order to stir up a level of consciousness, in order to experience the level of consciousness at that chakra level in the solidified world, right? So the auric body is the thing that allows this flow of energy and allows this splitting of the consciousness and allows this involution and evolution all at the same time. So the nadis travel the major chakras, forming the nadi knots that help sustains the BJs and chakra petals, or subtle seed sounds of vibration, because that's what they are. And you know, if I say sound, I mean consciousness, which is a karmic pressure that helps to solidify our existence. Each chakra has a series of nadi knots that exerts karmic pressures on every realm of consciousness. So each chakra is a different realm of consciousness. The chakra system forms the Granthi knots. The Granthi knots are formed, well, let's read what I have here, which are the three major conversion points of subtle cosmic energies flowing from the earth, sun, and the moon. So now, what is this? Each chakra, the base of the spine chakra and the sex chakra, they have a flow of energy coming from the earth that's picked up by those two chakras, right? And that energy actually originated from the sun, but it was calibrated by the earth. It goes from the sun through the logos of the earth, and the logos of the earth push this energy back out in a configured state, which in Sanskrit terminology, well, let's use it to make it simple, in a solid state and a liquid state. Okay, the energies are configured so that it can go. Its ultimate goal is to become a solid state and a liquid state. All right, and by doing that, the consciousness can be sustained through liquids and solids, which is our body. Okay, if the flow of blood doesn't flow through the veins and feed the solid, we can't function. All right. The next state, and that's a conversion point. Those two, the base of the spine chakra, which is solid, and the sex chakra, which is liquid, they combine together and become a conversion point, which is a Granthi knot. Now, on the abstract mystic side, it brings together 118 realms of existence that hold those two states together, the solid and the and the physical together. The next conversion point within the auric body is the solar plexus center and the heart center. And what that center does, that center brings together heat and air. Okay? And those are the two conversion points. Now these energies come directly from the sun, right? And it helps form the atmosphere around the earth, okay? It helps to form the atmosphere around the earth. And this heat, and of course we have heat and air all around the earth. And when we look at heat and air, what is heat and air? How does it come about? And we can go and look at the chemical composition of it. And we can look at oxygen and nitrogen, and we know that that's what makes up our atmosphere. And then within that atmosphere is the sun rays that comes down. And then we have the different layers of the atmosphere based on pressure and gravity, okay? That's a conversion point for those two energies, all right, for those two chakras. And that forms a granting knot that we have to get over. We have to conquer, all right? And I think that's 104, right? Yeah, well, not the petals, the Tavic rims, the Tavic rays, okay? So there you have it. You have 104 worlds of existence that's formed in order to keep that those two conversion points together. And it's said that you cannot become an adept until you first conquer the 118 worlds of the base of the spine and the sex center. And then secondly, I think it's 104 worlds of the solar plexus center and the heart center, which is the heat and air, right? So the third conversion point is the throat center and the third eye or Christ center, right? And that center, that's influenced by the moon. It's the reflective sunlight from the moon. The sunlight goes to the moon. The moon configures this energy. You know, probably the same way through the logos of the moon. And it configures this sunlight and pushes it down into the earth and into our chakra system. And you have the throat center, which controls the akasa energy, right? Or the udana energy, which helps to transfer mental signals throughout the body, right? Without the udana or akasa energy, the body will not be held together. It will not be held together because why? Because it controls the head, arms and hands, and feet. All right? It's the carrying agent for all the energies, for all movement, for mind. And then you have, of course, at the third eye or Christ center, this energy, which is the commanding energy. It connects itself to all the other chakras and allows the command signals according to the law of karma to happen within the body, all right? So these two energies, these two vortex centers converge together and become the third Granty knot. All right. All of this is in the ancient science. It was written down thousands upon thousands of years ago, and the serpent power talks about it, and also I think the Garden of Letters talks about it, and also Sivananda goes into it as well. And in two of his books that I've seen, in one of his books called The Kundalini Yoga, he goes into it, and then he has another book called, I think it's Nata, Bindu, and I think Nata, Bindu, and the Tavik, and the Tava. And he goes into it there. So, but it's very complex, it's very detailed, there's a lot of Sanskrit, but but once you get past all of that, it makes sense. And it looks like the scientists use this as a road map in order to develop a lot of things, or develop a lot of theories they had, because this was written down so long ago. So those are the, and with that comes those are three major conversion points, and those conversion points actually helps to slow down this tremendous flow of energy, because before then, that energy, the Kundalini energy, the energy of the nadis, travel at tremendous speeds that we could not control to a certain extent. We couldn't control, and we couldn't grasp consciousness. In other words, it took us a while to be able to slow this energy down so that we can control it in a very precise way. Unlike the animal. The animal has this tremendous power that it cannot control, and it stays in a state of rage. If you look at the description of the lower chakras, the animal, all the lower chakras are describe some type of rage that they're in. And there's no real self-consciousness. There's no real control there. But they have this tremendous power, tremendous physical power, to jump, to leap, to run fast, to rip apart, but they don't have the control. It's not until they reach that base of the spine, that crown chakra, which is the base of the spine for them, that they come into the realm of self-consciousness, and they can begin to control and work with intricate tools in order to develop and mold the things around them. They can actually begin to build a solid wall, a house, or a machinery. Other than that, they can't do it in their state of mind and their physical body. They cannot do it. They live in this state of rage in most cases. In the thamas state, in other words. The lower thamas states.
Quick recap question. So the third conversion point is calibrated by the moon, right?
It's calibrated by the moon,
The second one by the sun or the earth?
The sun.
Okay, and then
Yeah.
first by the earth.
Yeah, the first by the earth. That's how the Granty knots form. Any other questions? Is there any questions online? Okay. Do you all have any questions? Because this gonna, I mean, we could wait till next week to go into this. This goes really deep here. I kind of talked about some of it, I guess.
In that image you had on the right, in those lines, is that probably what people use, not that one, the other image, what people use for acupuncture and pressure points and all that?
No, not really. I mean,
Meridians, that's what it's called.
yeah, the meridians are actually the nadis.
Okay.
You know, they just call it a different name, but it's actually the nadis. And it's energy, because consciousness is actually psychic energy flowing through the nadis, right? Consciousness, because prana is psychic energy. The flow of prana is a mental energy, because psychic means mental, right? To a certain. So, but energy cannot flow without mind. Okay, mind cannot be activated without energy. So you can never separate mind and energy. Although we talk about it in separate terms, we only talk about it in separate terms because of why? Because of our limited understanding. All right? When energy flows, is either flowing by the universal mind or the basic minus mind. But mind is always with the energy. Okay, you have to understand that. Or it's flowing because of a group mind, a group consciousness. In other words, when you go to a city and all of a sudden you feel a certain way. Why? Because that city or that town or that neighborhood have formed a group consciousness. You know, where let's say if you bring a lot of people into one place and they have a similar belief system, it's going to filter that the consciousness of that belief system is going to bind together like a wool. It's going to create a particular atmosphere. So everyone comes into that field of consciousness, they're going to immediately feel that. You know, if you have a resort and that resort is about relaxation and about just being loose or whatever, when you enter that, that's the first thing you're going to feel. Because that's a common thread among that whole resort. When you walk into a library, everybody's there intensely learning and studying, that's what you're going to feel. It's a group consciousness. It's not about the structure. It's about the group consciousness that created that atmosphere. Okay? So energy never ever flows without mind. All right? And mind is never absence of energy, because the energy is always there in order for the mind to be active. Other than that, mind becomes a static potential. Okay? It becomes a static potential. So mind and energy is really never separated. It's always some type of mind, some type of level of mind energy there, and it's always energy, and prana is always accompanied with mind on some level. All right. In the Hindu or the yogic text, they talk about tamas, rajas, and sava or savic, right? That is states of mind. Those are the three groups of mind that they link. That's always present there. They lumped it together in those three. The tamas is a basic, rudimentary type of dog mind, and then rajas is a mind of desire, right? and pleasures, and then the sattvic mind, state of mind is a purer state of mind, of service, love, and all these other things. So that's that's the difference.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, we'll briefly go into this, I guess. This is a look, because we just talked about a lot of energy and the flow. This is a brief look at the flow of prana within the auric envelope. Now, I'm going to zero in on the first part of it. Maybe I can go here. We talked about the chakra system a lot. The chakra system, the chakra is a series of vortex centers of mental, vital, sonic energies, okay? And that's very important. Mental, vital, and sonic energies being pulled in and out of the subtle auric structure. It also moves energies from one realm of existence to the next realm of existence. And that's, a lot of people don't realize that, but that's what the chakra system is. That's what it does. That's what it is, and that's what it does. It moves the energy, it brings the energy in from a very subtle cosmic level, and push that energy through sound, through mind and energy. It push it to different realms of existence, and allow that energy to solidify itself, to liquefy itself, to turn into heat, air, or whatever. The nadis are thin lines of force radiating from the dormant kundalini as separate flows of subtle energies called Pingala nadis, a vital positive flow of energy, and Ida nadis, a negative flow of energies. Okay, yeah.
What is a negative flow of energy?
A negative flow of energy can be considered a mental energy. Okay, that flow of energy have more mental qualities than vital qualities. In other words, okay, it's not. Don't think of it as bad and good. It's just the properties of it. It's just like when you push electricity through. You have a negative copper line, you have a positive copper line, then you have a neutral, or what they call a ground wire. And the ground wire is that ground wire that goes into the ground, right? That helps to stabilize the negative and positive, okay? It helps to stabilize that. And that's the same thing you have here. In the body, in the ancient text, the ground is Shushuna, right? That's because the ground is usually positive and negative flowing together in unison, all right? But what the ground wire does inside a structure is that this socket is like a chakra, like a vortex center, right? It push energy out and pulls energy in. So, but what stabilized that? The ground wire. The energy will not flow in a house if you don't ground the house. You'll get no energy flow. If you don't take that metal rod and push it down into the ground some 8 feet, 6 to 8 feet, then and then take that ground wire and connect it to the switch, to the receptacles, the energy will not flow in the house. You will not have no energy flow. So it's the same way in our body.
And then the positive energy is what then?
The positive energy is the vital energy, the energy that causes things to move. So when you bring the positive and negative together, then you have direction. The energy can move. You know, the ground, the positive and the negative. Then we have the word prana, or the Sanskrit word prana. Sanskrit word prana is a universal life force that radiates through creation, mainly through various solar logos or suns. This all-pervasive subtle energies has a cosmic level, solar level, planetary level, and human level of operation. The prana we use in the solar system comes from our mighty sun through the release of the creative sonic vibration that delivers the pranas to the planets and its life forms. So there this is simple terms. We can say much more because it's really much more complex than that, but just in simple terms so that you can understand. And that's saying that in another simple way to say it, but most people, they won't really understand it, but it's really simple. Everything is solidified sunlight. Everything that comes from the sun, everything on this earth is a result of the energy from the sun, and it's solidified sunlight. Right? The energy flows down to us and is modified by us into this environment that we have right here. But nothing will exist without the sun. Absolutely nothing. And then we talked about the chakras within the auric body. We mainly talked about 7 different chakras. I have 9 chakras here, which I added the chakras in the hand. The crown chakra is the expression point of the spirit, used for the soul to tap into the unmanifested point of endless potential and all knowledge space. The Christ chakra, which is known as the third eye, is the command center for the spirit through soul, the point of where all knowledge space is known and experienced. The throat chakra is the point of purification and calibration of mental and subtle energies. The heart chakra is the seat of the soul. It brings meaning to movement of mental, subtle, and gross energies passing through it. The solar plexus vortex center is the point transforms the subtle and gross base of mental coding of the energies. The sex chakra is the seat of the basic consciousness. It's where the mental and vital life forces expand itself throughout the entire body. And the base of the spine chakra is the point of the formation of the Kundalini, which is the vehicle of consciousness for the soul. Kundalini, a dormant Shakti power manipulated by the soul to create the state of consciousness to expand basic life. And those are the those are simple explanations of the function of each chakra. And below is the color, it's the key color. These are the colors of that this energy radiates. If we zoom in on this, and then we have, I put here the nadi, the Pingala nadis. There's thousands, tens of thousands of Pingala nadis, but mostly they lean to the right side of the body. Okay. And the Ida nadis move towards the left side of the body.
Irrespective if you're left-handed or right-handed.
Yeah, huh?
It doesn't matter if you're left-handed or
No, it
right-handed.
don't. No, it don't matter. We zoom in on the hand. This is the major chakra. You have a major chakra in the middle of the hand, and then you have the perspective flow of energy there. The thumb is apana, which is a gross energy. The pointing finger is vyana, which is a liquid type energy. Samana energy is a heat and fire energy, and prana is a air gaseous type energy, and udana is a energy of sound and etheric sound, and it's associated with akasa. And here I go over that. And that I give a brief explanation here for the Kundalini. Kundalini is a dormant power located at the base of the spine by the soul, manipulating a potent flow of concentrated Shakti power through the Brahmanati, located within the inner channels of Sushumna. Once at the base of the spine, the Shakti becomes Kundalini power, which works as the vehicle of consciousness for man in his many cycles of life. There, I also give a little bit more on the flow of energy, or the pranas. Now, just brief to go here into this chart, we experience Kundalini in its most negative form, right? Kundalini, because of the karmic configuration of our auric body and our past actions and the group consciousness that we formed here on Earth, Kundalini flows in the front of the body, right? And that's a negative flow of that energy. And that's what brings about the sense of self and glamour and selfishness. And it excites the tamas frame of mind and the desire frame of mind that have us to walk really unnaturally, in a sense, where we desire more things for ourselves than desire things for the community. In other words, to help everyone, to see everybody lift up. We take on the attitude, let me get mine first, and forget about them. forget about everybody around me. And that's a negative flow of this Kundalini. So all yoga is designed to become one with God, right? That's the meaning of yoga. All yoga focus in on purifying the aura. And when they say purifying the aura, that's to kill out that negative flow of energy, in a sense, by redirecting that flow of energy in a positive way in order to create a positive outcome, in other words, to have that energy to center itself and to try to flow in a way that allows you, configure itself in a way to allow you to recognize, to be awakened to the fact that service is the greatest thing. And to help someone is helping yourself, because everyone is a part of you and you are a part of everyone. So this is, it's a negative flow of energy that we have, the flow. The positive flow of energy will be the energy to flow down to the base of the spine and up through Shushumna, right? And awaken the chakras so that in our state of a full consciousness or even awakened consciousness, we'll have more energies activated. The chakras will activate themselves on a different level than what they activate themselves now, because they activate themselves from the outside in, which excites in the wrong way. So that's very important. Those of you who want me to email this stuff to you, just let me know and I'll email it to you. And this shows how Shushumna is and the different layers of Shushumna and how you get to the Brahmanati. We can stop here and go over the rest of this next week.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Because there are major centers in the hands, does that mean Ida and Pingala cross or express themselves in the palms as well, or is
Yeah, they do. Of course they do. I mean, wherever you have a major chakra, or wherever you have a chakra anywhere, you have Ida and Pingala. Even in the minor chakras, you have Ida and Pingala. You cannot have a chakra, you cannot have a minor chakra or a minute chakra without having Ida and Pingala present. Remember, I just stated that at the outset. You cannot have, energy does not flow without mind energy. And mind energy cannot be activated without vital energy. Okay, so they never separate. It's the illusion that we have to bring about, or the presentation we have to do in order for you to understand. Because even in idle, in the flow of idle energy, you have Pingala energy flowing with idle, but there's more of idle energy than Pingala energy. In other words, there's more of mental energy flowing than the vital energy in that screen. But you still have both. It's the same way with the Pingala energy, the vital energy. There's mental energy there. There's idle energy there. It's just you have a combination of vital energy flowing more, because they cannot be separated. But for all purposes, they are separated because you have a greater percentage of one than the other. But in order for it to be activated in manifestation, they work together. In other words, they work together. So, and that's why they move towards that vortex center, and thread themselves through the vortex center. And then consciousness is experienced in a fuller manner than it is in the flow of that consciousness. See?
So when Aya Pingala is depicted traveling up Shona,
Mm-hmm.
that's just the main flow, but it's still in similar fashion throughout the entire
Throughout the
bodies
throughout the entire body. You just have greater percentages on one side. We don't know what those percentages are, but we know it's a greater percentage. It might be 70%, 80% Pingala on the right-hand side of the body, and 70% or 80% of Ida on the left-hand side of the body. But we know that there's a greater percentage in these two hemispheres, and then they come together, and they come together as one. We know at the Christ chakra, at the third eye. In other words, psychic. They say psychic powers is experience when you can balance the existing Kundalini within the body by charging the brain, the two parts of the brain, balancing them with the flow of Gnostic energy, right? Right, and when they're balanced, and because of the Christ center is there, right, and the Christ center sends out the signals, right. The Christ center they say it has a special connection with the sex center, right, and one of the reasons is because the sex center does what? It controls the flow of prana throughout the entire body. So that's one of the special connections. So what happens when you balance off, when you so-called denegatize the energy, where you balance off the energy within the body, right? Through Jnana Yoga and Kama Yoga, right? Jnana gives you the wisdom to use Kama Yoga properly, right? By creating the proper actions in your life, by eliminating certain actions that inhibits the flow of mental and vital energies, right? Just by doing the right things, your consciousness elevates. The nadis begin to flow better within the subtle bodies. It charges the left and right hemisphere of the brain properly, allowing a free flow of energy, allowing the Christ center to communicate better with the sex center, right? To move energy and manipulate energy on a basic level. What happens? A free flow of Kundalini comes up and opens the sex center. And then you have all these sexual urges all of a sudden that you can't explain. You say, wait a minute, I'm supposed to be, controlling this stuff, but I have this stuff coming through my mind more. That's why you have it coming through your mind more, because it's flushing this stuff out. After a while, you begin to control it, because why? You took on higher principles. But in the beginning, you're going to struggle with it. You're going to struggle with it. You're going to fall down. You're going to get up. You're going to fall down and get up. And you may go on a sexual escapade, but every time you feel bad about it. Because why? Because you just gave up this vital energy. And you begin to understand what the energy, and then all of a sudden it balances off, and you have this control. And then you begin to see the auras. You begin to move in and out of the physical body at ease. You begin to have to hear from long distance. You begin to sense danger before danger even come about, or before it's obvious. You begin to sense the sickness or illness of people when they come around you. You begin to be able to know the level of negativity within a person when they come around you, or the area. just naturally, you develop this natural psychic ability just by study and applying what you know, through karma yoga, because it begins to clean the aura. It begins to clean the notic pathways. And a free flow of energy begins to happen naturally between the command center, which is the Christ center, and the sex center. Not that your Christ center is opening. Don't get that wrong, because people think I'm saying that. No, the Christ center is not opening. The sex center is opening. The sex center is opening, which is the seat of consciousness. That's what opens first. It'll be many, many lifetimes before the Christ center open if you are at that level. Many lifetimes. But that's what begins to happen. So is there any other questions?
I have one more.
Yeah.
I'm trying to give people online some time to catch up.
All right.
How do you read and control the flow of energy between two individuals?
What do you mean by that?
Okay, so like, there's some people you meet them the first time, you just vibe with them.
Mm-hmm.
And there's other people you meet them for the first time and they just grind your gears, you don't know why. They
Mm-hmm.
just get on your nerves. And also, like yesterday in the martial arts training, one of the things we're trying to work on is reading that flow between someone. So it's like,
Mhm.
you're not say looking at them, but you feel the intention, you feel them coming at you, you move out of the way in time. Sometimes I get it, sometimes I get hit.
Mm-hmm.
How is it that how do you learn to read that and then interpret that and also control that flow?
That's just the sensitivity of you. Just what I'm saying. If you sensitize your body, because when you clear the naughty pathways, you sensitize your body, and that's by right thought and action. The Nani and the Karma Yoga. Now, if you go to the next level, which is the mudra level in the limbs of yoga, where you begin to sit still or do the hatha yoga poses or whatever in order to push the energy in a certain way, that can help too. But when you purify the naughty pathways, you become sensitive, and then when you feel that that psychic energy coming on through, you can enhance it through pranayama. You can enhance it through the asanas, through the mudras and pranayama, and through mantra. You can enhance it. But when you begin to have the spouts of psychic vision or whatever, you need to work on that to understand it. You're not going to understand it right away. Don't have it, or maybe you can reoccur it and I know that. No, doubt yourself. Challenge yourself. Study that. Look at it. Look at the aura. If you see red, say, is that really red? Take out different reds and see how red begins and ends. If you see orange, the same thing. Look at the different shades of orange. And then look at the situation in that person's life and try to relate that to that person. Try to understand. Then you can read material of other people of what they thought that interpretation was. Treat it as something real, right? If you see something that's disturbing and you don't truly understand and you can't connect the dots, talk to that person. You don't have to tell them I'm looking at your aura. You just tell them, say, just try to find out what's going on in their life. And then you can probably connect the dots of why their aura is in this disarray, or maybe they have a beautiful aura, So those are things. Also, don't take your word as the last word. Don't do it. If you have a strong sense of something, challenge that strong sense. Don't immediately condemn or come to a final whatever with that person. Don't do that. That's because that's allowing the ego to take over. So don't do that. Realize that you just as human and natural as everyone, and you can make mistakes. And that's the problem with a lot of people who begin to see psychically. They take on this arrogant attitude that, that they know that because they seen it, that's all, and that's not it. That's not it. And that's the lesson you have to learn. I had a friend of mine, I had a vision. I had a vision one day. I used to do 3-4 hours of yoga every day. And then I would go out and I would just go into a moment of silence, and while I stare at the woods, and in front of my house was a very woody area. And all of a sudden I had a vision of him, and he had his leg broken. So I said, oh, he's got his leg broken, And I would not accept that. I would not accept that. And the vision kept coming and coming and coming. So I made a trip to his house to see how he was doing, right? And come to find out, after talking to him and being with him for a while, it wasn't his leg that was broken, It was his spirit that was broken in a sense. And I'm not talking about the divine spark of God. Because he had a strong constitution about his character. He was lovesick, and that's what was wrong with him. And he was moving in the wrong direction, and that's what was wrong with him. And so sometimes the vision can come, it can come way over here when it's really this. So that's why I say you have to just analyze it. Don't come to a fast conclusion. And I talked to him, and he know that I was a little psychic, so I was able to tell him what I seen, and I was concerned. And later on, him and I concluded that that's what it was. It had nothing to do with his physical well-being. It had something to do with his mental well-being. But because he was a bodybuilder and an athlete, and he was very intelligent too. He had a very strong. I think he had several masters, and he was very, very intelligent, very academically intelligent. But on that relationship thing, he was weak. He didn't know how to deal with that because his mind was too logical. But he had broke his spirit, and he had got off his discipline. Because he was disciplined. He was a practicing celibate, so he was very disciplined. So your visions, don't come to a ready conclusion on it. But the way you sensitize yourself is opening yourself up, doing the right things, tuning in. And then that's another thing. When you have the ability to sense and see and smell and whatever, because sometimes you can smell too. You practice on that over and over and over and over and over and over until you can get into a deep practice of it. When I noticed that my vision was better than anything, I was able to take my vision and project it onto a wall and see it there. I was also able to close my eyes and project it on my eyelids as well. I was able to project it to a crystal ball and see it as well. But you have to constantly practice over and over and over and over and over until it becomes something like a switch. You turn it on and off. And that's called samskaras. Not samskaras. It's called what it's called? It's called sanyamas. Sanyamas. That's what a sanyama is, where you practice over and over and over. You get to a point where you can actually do a sanyama on something, where you study that something until you find all the different points of it. Okay, that's a sanyama. That's going into a level of contemplation, where you can look at point 1, 2, all the way to 100 and something, 200 and something, where you can see all the points of that particular thing. Then you have, you know, and don't think it's a long time. It happens so quick. You can have a vision, and that vision can happen within a few seconds. But you can take that vision, bring it back into being, and do a sanyama on it, you know. Or you can go to the object that you had the vision on and do a sanyama on the object based on the vision. So there's all different. We get into Raja Yoga now. I don't want to do that. But that's, you know, sensitivity is, you know, you can become sensitive in something just by opening your senses, you know. Not only your 5 senses, but all, remember the yogis say you have 10 to 11 senses that you could tap into. So tap into all 10 or 11 senses.
Going back to that flow of energy between people,
Mm-hmm.
if when you do feel other people's energy coming your way,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not positive, or I guess it's like a different approach question. How do you protect yourself from other people's energy that's not beneficial to you? How do you not take other people's energy?
You can't. I mean,
Without closing off that sensitivity.
no. I mean, you can be. I mean, you can be sensitive, but yet don't take on that.
Yeah, how? That's
And it happens in a sense. Like now, if that person's, if you, especially in the beginning, that's not going to happen to you, unless you're vulnerable to that. If you're vulnerable to what you're sensing, in other words, you understand what I'm saying?
I'm not quite sure.
In other words, if you sense something about somebody that you enjoy doing, or you have a weakness for,
Okay,
then you can be affected by that, in a sense.
okay. So how do you deal with that?
But, well, you just have to deal with it the way you would deal with it on a personal level.
Yeah.
But if you sense something about somebody and you have no vulnerability to it whatsoever, you automatically have a filter system.
Okay, yeah, I guess.
It's the same way in your bloodstream, you have a membrane around the cells.
Yeah.
And it only lets those things in that's familiar to it. And it repels those things that's not familiar to it. You understand what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
I do.
So then your personality or your aura is the same way in a sense. If a discarnated entity is trying to woo you or get next to you, it's going to bring the things that you are vulnerable to, that you have a great attraction to. Mm-hmm. And if it can open you up to that, then it can jump into your aura and feed off of your aura. Mm-hmm. You understand? And we'll talk about this next week. We'll go into, probably next week or week after next, we'll go into those type of things. But you have discarnated and people who have died on, mm-hmm. and they might be addicts. Mm-hmm. Like you can have an addict or someone who did all different type of drugs, and those drugs may not be available for them where they are on the lower astral realms, but they have the ability to enter between the realms here on this physical plane, and they go to a nightclub or go to a hangout spot where people use drugs, and they can enter into the body of the drug addict to get to experience the high with them, mm-hmm. you know. So it's the same thing with sex addicts. It's the same thing with criminals. It's the same thing with people who play tennis and football. It's the same thing. So they suck up that atmosphere to get that experience, to feel that whatever again, if it's not available where they are. If it's available where they are, they just need to stay there and suck it up there. Unless they not familiar with that experience there, they want the experience here. But you have a natural defense against those things that you have raised above. Because your body have built that membrane around it that doesn't allow that.
And to strengthen the vulnerabilities, I imagine it's karma yoga or something like that?
Yeah. Knowledge of something dispels fear, and because most of those most of your likes and dislikes is built on fear, illusion, and things that's really not a part of you. So the more knowledge you have of something, the greater ability you have to stay away from that something that's not good for you. But if you don't have the knowledge, then you keep, I just love the sensation. You keep diving into it.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Just comments, but not questions.
Okay. All right, then we can go ahead and close out then, if there's no more questions. Let's close out with a prayer.
Okay. One quick announcement before we do the prayer. The class videos, or the recordings of each streaming, were going to be released in arrears. So meaning last week's class will be released tomorrow, this Monday, and this class will be released next week, Monday. The reason for that, it gives me about some time to edit the video and to do whatever I need to do in the back end to make sure the videos are good for archiving. New Lord's Prayer. O divine and wondrous Spirit, O everlasting Lord of hosts, send forth now through me thy great and lasting power. Allow me, Almighty God, the lasting privilege of radiating to all the world thy great love, so that those who suffer may be given the power and energy to rise above their weaknesses. Almighty God, in great humility do I ask you to send forth your power, to give to me this great lasting privilege of being a channel, so that my suffering brothers may be helped and guided and healed and lifted into thy light, so that they who know not may look up and in doing so receive to their higher selves your divine counsel. Almighty God, this day have you granted me a divine privilege. I ask you now to give to me the strength so that never again will I turn from my inner vision of you. O great peace, great peace, great peace. In praise of your greatness, O God, doth my soul sing. Grant it energy to sing on forever and forever. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next week.